The answer to your question is yes. I am a very biased Boston sports fan. All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. This is Alex Himes, and today I'm doing an awesome interview with a very good friend of mine, Avi Bernard. Thank you for stopping by.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Groovy. Thank you for coming on, man. So, for starters, before I get into the specifics of everything, I need to do a rant. So, for all those idiotic, stupid Celtics fans who have been burning Isaiah Thomas jerseys or burning Jay Crowder jerseys or anything like that, you are fucking stupid. And I'm going there with that one. I'm going completely out there with that one because this guy gave us his all, played a game after, like Avi and I were talking about this before we got on. He played the day or two after his sister passed away tragically. The guy was the new face of the Celtics after the Big Three era was over, and he was traded. And yet you still think you want to give him the same treatment that LeBron got after he left Cleveland? Yeah, that deserved burning jerseys. I'm all okay with that. But Isaiah Thomas, of all people, he's done nothing but good things for one, the city of Boston, and two, for the NBA. So everyone out there who is watching this, take note. Not all Celtic fans are bandwagoners, and not all Celtic fans are idiots. I'm here representing with a Jay Crowder jersey, which not many of you can say you one have or have seen personally worn on a player or person. Player, yeah, makes sense. But Celtics fans, you are not being represented by those idiots. And to the idiots themselves, you are an embarrassment to New England sports fans everywhere. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. You are an embarrassment for burning that player's jersey. He doesn't deserve it. He should be held in high regard. And I'd like to personally thank Isaiah Thomas for everything he's done for the city of Boston. The same thing for Jay Crowder with his hustle plays and his defensive grit. And thank you to Ante Zizic for being a piece in this deal as well. Even though you never played in the uniform, you still help facilitate it. And on that note, welcome Kyrie Irving. I hope you live up to that hype and you actually make the leap that you claim you're ready to do. And with that, let's get started with this one. So, my friend Avi has come by and we're going to do some talks about this. So, you are the host of 102.3 FM KJLH, correct?
Yeah, I'm on one of the hosts of that radio station. It's a music station, but we also do sports. It's the home of the Steve Harvey Morning Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m.
Shout out to Steve.
And and so I do a lot of stuff there. I do some of the music shows. I host the talk show sometimes, and I have a sports segment on the Steve Harvey Show as well.
Okay, all right, great. And you're also doing stuff with KTLA now too, right?
Yeah, I'm an on-camera sports analyst for KTLA TV Channel 5 here in LA. I do a lot of stuff with high school football, with college football, and with NFL football. And I'll actually be on tomorrow from 6 to 10 a.m.
Catch Avi on KTLA 5 from 6 to 10 p.m.
A.M.
tomorrow to give you all your sports needs and anything in particular that you want to give the people a quick a hint at or like a little preview.
Well, we're just going to be talking mostly about NFL preseason. It's week 3 of the preseason, and that's the day, that's the game, that's like the dress rehearsal for most teams, where you're going to see the starters for the longest period of time in the preseason. Yep. This is the week where most of the coaches make their decision on the guys they're going to keep. Most of the guys you see playing in week 4 aren't going to be on the team. Some of them will make the team, but this week 3 is really your best chance to get a look at your team. Whatever team, if you're a Patriots fan like Alex here, or whatever team you root for, this is your chance to get the best look at your team before the season starts.
Okay, all right. So you're covering. Are you a big Raiders fan? What is your team?
I'm not a Raider fan. I grew up in LA, and I grew up without having a team. The Rams and Raiders left at the same time.
Yeah.
I had started to be a Rams fan right before they left. I kind of was liking the Rams, and I was liking the Cowboys. And so once the Rams and Raiders left, I've been a Cowboy fan, and the Rams came back and the Chargers just came to town. But I'm not a bandwagon guy. I mean, I'll probably start liking them eventually.
Yeah.
But I've been liking the Cowboys my whole life, so I'm a Cowboy fan.
All right. Side note before we continue, do you like having both the Chargers and the Rams in LA?
I don't like having two sorry-ass teams in my city, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They both suck something awful right now.
Yeah.
And I think they'll get better, but when, who knows? You just never know with the NFL franchise when they're going to be able to turn their fortunes. The Rams have been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
The Chargers are always like Jekyll and Hyde. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But lately they've been really bad. And so I don't mind it, but I wish that they were better, and I think they will be eventually. But right now, it's just kind of like I don't really care for either of them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about having 2 NFL teams as I feel about having 2 NBA teams. I don't like it. There should be 1 team per city, and I get we're a gigantic city, you know, we can house it. But I don't think we should have the Clippers here. Lakers have it. They've been here longest, and they have the titles. This is an LA Laker town. There's no argument there.
No.
It's the Lakers city, but I don't think that we should have the Chargers. I think the Rams are more acceptable because they were here at one point. It makes sense. The Chargers, I think they just hopped on the bandwagon and said, all right, you know, let's move. You know, it was good timing because the stadium situation and everything, but I don't like them being here.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and I kind of feel the same way. I don't mind the Chargers being here if the Rams weren't here.
Yeah.
But after the Rams came, then I really wasn't in favor of the Chargers coming as well. I don't mind the city having 2 teams. I mean, the Clippers have been here, you know, for a long time now, and it's obviously going to be a Lakers town always. Like Kobe once said, my kids will be Laker fans because we have too many rings.
Yeah.
It's never going to be the Clippers town because I think they had their best shot at a ring a couple years ago when they lost to the Rockets.
The game 7.
3-1 lead they gave up. But I think I don't mind the city having 2 teams. We have 2 teams in every sport. I mean, we have the Angels and the Dodgers. And even though the Angels are in Anaheim, they still like to call themselves Los Angeles.
Yeah, but I'm okay. That's okay with me because you're not necessarily in the same city. Yeah, I don't like having the Chargers and the Rams in the same city. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. Thank God. I actually want to personally thank you because I went to visit Avi right at the beginning of this summer when I was starting to put together my whole YouTube radio show and starting to really get big with this. And I came to him after, you know, being put in touch with you through a mutual friend of ours. And I went to a station one night, I think it was like a Wednesday night at like 10 p.m. and showed up. And you actually gave me some really sound advice and gave me kind of that motivation. You said to listen to the lyrics from a Logic song. So for those of you who are watching, there will be a segment where I show those. But those words have been very true, and they've helped me a lot. So I want to really personally thank you for that one.
Oh, good. You're very welcome. I'm glad that I was able to help. You know, I mean, those words have helped me as well.
Yeah.
And you got to draw inspiration from anywhere you can. And I just think it's really important to do what you're passionate about. And I think a lot of us have, whether we're following our dreams or not, we've been at that crossroads where we're thinking, should I go this route or should I go the safe route?
Yeah.
And that we're always going to be confronted with that choice when we're chasing our dreams. And so, you know, I think you got what it takes to do this. And so why not? You know, I mean, no regrets. The worst thing in life you can have is regrets. So you might as well just go all out for what you want.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was able to help, man.
Yeah. And honestly, like when we were talking, I remember saying to you, like, I could just sit and talk about sports for hours and with ease. And this is what I love doing. I love being able to talk sports with you, everyone else that I run into, just sitting there and like it's an easy conversation. It's something that brings people together, you know?
Yeah, I mean, especially in times like this that we're going through in this country and in the world.
Yeah.
I think sports they're always important, but they're especially important right now.
Yeah.
Because they can be a distraction from all the terrible things going on, from all the divisions we have, and we can just kind of take our mind off it for a few hours and watch a game, you know. And I mean, for me, I'm a Dodger fan, you know, and so if I can turn off the news and watch the Dodgers for a couple hours, that really helps.
Yeah.
You know, especially when the Dodgers are having the kind of season they're having.
Yep.
But yeah, man, sports are one of the best parts about life, I think, you know, and you can just we live vicariously through them.
Yeah.
And it's just fun, man.
It's like music has that whole like unifying factor where like everyone puts aside their differences and we just kind of come together based on what we like, you know. Unfortunately, the Dodgers won't be going to the World Series this year, and the Red Sox will win the World Series this year.
Oh,
but
that's adorable.
Man, all right. When you have Kershaw and Darvish with back injuries out, like, I don't know, man.
Well, look, we have like 8 starting pitchers. Kershaw is about to come back, like in a week or so, or less. Darvish is fine. He's not even hurt. Wood is going to be back soon. I mean, I lose track of all the starting pitchers we have. We have Rich Hill, who just went 9 no-hit innings last night.
Yeah, that 10th one.
Yeah. But who ever goes out for a 10th inning when you've thrown 9 innings of no-hit baseball? So
okay, fair.
We have him. We have Hyun-Jin Ryu, who is capable of going the distance any given night, throwing 10 strikeouts like he's been doing. We have Brandon McCarthy. We have like 7 or 8 starting pitchers that are viable. We're going to get the best 3 or 4 of them for the postseason. And, the Red Sox have a great team, but, I hope we do play them in the playoffs.
I love that.
In the World Series.
I love that. Having that, like, Boston-LA rivalry again. I would love that.
Yeah, man. I mean, that would be something. And
the first phone call you'll get from me is the one collecting my $500 for the fact that the Red Sox are going to win.
Well, I mean, if you're going to pay me for your team to lose, that's fine. I mean,
okay. All right. So it's a bet.
That's fine. I mean, we can. I don't want you to ignore my phone call. That's what I'm saying. when you see pick up your phone, you see that it's me. You're like, God damn it, I'm not going to take that.
I'll be ready because, I'm like, man, thank you for being such a good dude and calling me back to get ready and pay me. I appreciate it so much. You want me to give you my Venmo too while I'm at it?
Well, I mean, I have a PayPal account. You can just put the money in.
Okay. All right. So going into another big topic today, we have the Cavaliers and Celtics trade that everyone's been talking about in the rant that I went on earlier. So with that trade in particular, do you think that the Cavaliers got better or worse?
I think, the Cavs kind of had to make that trade.
Yeah.
I don't know that they got better for this year. I think they maybe didn't get worse, though. I don't think Isaiah Thomas is a lot worse than Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving is better, but I think with the Cavs, the team they have, I think that Isaiah fits in nicely, and they had to get that first-round pick for next year because LeBron likely will be leaving anyway.
Yeah.
But, this also enables them to potentially get Dwayne Wade and or Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
And so if you have those two guys with LeBron, obviously Anthony and Wade are not the players they once were.
Yeah.
But they're still, if they bring their dream team game where they don't have to be the star and they just need a few looks a game, and then the Cavs will have gotten better. But I think as currently constructed, I think the Cavs took just a minor step back with this trade for this year because they don't obviously have that 2018 pick on their team right now.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good trade for the Cavs. I think the Celtics gave up too much.
Oh.
I mean, I know that everyone was trying to get that Brooklyn first-round pick from you guys. The Bulls tried to get that pick for Butler. I think the Knicks tried to get it from you too.
Yeah, for Melo.
Yeah, for Melo, and that's a good thing for the Celtics. They didn't take that. But yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics gave up too much. I see why they wanted Irving, but I do think the Cavs. I think it makes them probably a little more competitive with the Cavs this year, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said it. I put out a video yesterday where I was talking about my reaction from that trade, and I thought immediately, the Celtics got the player that they've wanted. They got a face, a franchise cornerstone face, a fresh start face that can mix with Al Horford and Gordon Hayward for like a big 2.5, not a big 3. And, they gave up way too much, in my opinion, and the way too much is literally the asterisk on that pick. Because you don't know where it's going to end up. We could have given it up, like you said, for Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Melo, any of those guys. But no, we held it for Kyrie Irving. Now, if I was trading Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Zizic, and I said yesterday, I would have traded the Laker pick that we got in that deal for the first overall pick with the Sixers this year. We got the Lakers pick next year, which is going to be 2 through 5, potentially. And,
potentially, yeah.
Yeah, and it's protected after that. If it's not 2 through 5, then it becomes the Sacramento pick the next year after that.
Right.
But I would have traded that for him willingly, no issue.
Yeah.
But that Brooklyn pick is going to end up being
a top 3.
That's going to be a number 1,
probably
I think.
Number 1, if not a top 3, number 1, yeah.
And the thing is, this draft class coming in, all the players 1 through 5 are essentially like number 1 overall picks on their own, and they're all good players. So I don't agree with them giving up that pick. I think they gave up too much like you do. I think we could have changed the deal, but I think the Cavaliers won the deal overall, but the Celtics got what they wanted. They got it.
Well, I mean, look at what they gave up. I mean, they gave up their point guard to get another point guard.
Yeah.
And they gave up that pick.
Yeah.
So they basically got an upgraded point guard.
But not that much, too.
But not that much. What they could have gotten, they could have kept Isaiah Thomas and gotten Butler as well.
Yep.
But instead they got Gordon Hayward. So, I guess, I mean, I know that Ainge kind of just is trying to make this happen now.
Yeah.
And when you're the deal, I think what made him do this deal was that they kind of feel like they took one of the Cavs championship pieces.
Yeah.
And that's the team that they're competing with in the East.
See, that's something I didn't even think of. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
They're like, well, we're getting better, but we're making them worse too.
Yeah.
And so they know that LeBron may be gone from the Cavs after this year, so they're like, we want to win this championship now. We want to at least have a shot because as the teams were, they weren't going to compete with the Cavs.
Yeah.
Because the 2016 championship doesn't go to the Cavs without Irving. Obviously LeBron went Captain Insano and did everything, and they don't win it without him, but they don't win it without Kyrie Irving's big shot in Game 7 or a lot of other plays he made. So I think that's the main reason they made the pick. So while I do think they gave up too much, I understand why they did the deal, and I think it may end up working out in their favor because they do have a chance to compete with the Cavs.
They do. I mean, as soon as the Gordon Hayward deal was done and we still had IT and before this trade, I thought the Celtics still would go to the finals. I thought they'd beat the Cavaliers with what was going on because, like, you can't have a divided locker room. I'm assuming that Kyrie was still on the team, so you can't have a divided locker room. They're not as good shown by their finals against the Warriors this year. And when you're playing a team that didn't get better and the Celtics just got exponentially better, my only first thought was, well, they stayed here. The Celtics went from here to there.
Well, but the Cavs were so much better last year, so I think the Celtics, they did get better with the acquisition of Hayward. But would they have beaten the Cavs in the playoffs? I think they had a better chance to. I don't know. It was certainly not a given. So, I mean, because in that series last year between the Cavs and the Celtics, I mean, it was pathetic.
We were missing Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, but
and
I don't think. I mean, even with Isaiah Thomas, y'all weren't messing with the Cavs last year.
No, we didn't have another guy. We needed a guy other than Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Al Horford's a good player, but he's essentially what Chris Bosh was for LeBron in Miami. He's going to be Mr. Consistent, makes the right plays, passes, and is always touching the ball in every possession at some point. Their ball runs through Al at one point in the possession, but they always needed a small forward. That's what I thought. They always needed someone who was kind of like Pierce, if not like Pierce, then someone who could do what Gordon Hayward's now going to do. They needed someone to match up with LeBron in particular. That's what I thought they needed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that they got better. But, with this trade, though, I think it really is up in the air. The East is up in the air.
You think the East's up in the air now?
I think between those two.
Okay.
Not up in the air, but I think the Cavs and the Celtics have an equal shot at the East right now.
So the super team Cavs, now that we've seen the IT trade go down and everything, we now face the possibility of LeBron getting joined by Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony. LeBron has made it clear, he wants all of his friends to play with him at some point, it makes sense. And he has Isaiah Thomas, Derrick Rose on this roster, and now it's an imminent point, like from NBA sources, they're saying that a buyout between Dwayne Wade and the Bulls is imminent. And immediately he would go over to Cleveland, which makes sense. You're not moving that far, and you want to win with your friend again. And they give him the best chance to really go for it, other than the Celtics, which I think he should go there, but that's just me.
Well, spoken like a true Celtics fan.
Hell, man, are you telling me that a lineup with Kyrie, Dwayne Wade, Gordon Hayward, Marcus Morris, and Al Horford wouldn't push them past Cleveland?
I think you're right on the cusp still. I mean, it's not a given. Wade is 139 years old now.
He's 139 and can still dunk though.
So what? I mean, everybody in the league can dunk. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's lost a step. He's still a good player, but he's not the Wade that was part of the Big Three with Miami.
He's like Senior Flash teaching all the younger guys to run quick now.
Well, yeah, exactly. But those guys on the Celtics already know how. They're already, they know how to run quick. I'm saying if they got to do it, make them better.
Okay, maybe I'm just biased.
I'm just saying I don't know that for sure because LeBron is still by far the best player in the world. I mean, I give Durant a close second, but I think LeBron is still the best player in the world.
Overall.
Yeah, overall. And, I mean, whatever team he's on is going to be favored in the East, I think. Because unless the Cavs just give up a whole bunch of pieces.
That's why he should go to Boston this offseason.
Definitely. He's probably coming to LA.
Oh, man. I've talked about this to a lot of people. He's going to come to LA for sure. Like,
think
it's...
so?
Yeah, I mean, when you tweet stuff like that, like, he wanted Kyrie gone. We all knew that. Like, I had a conspiracy theory saying that, like, he was behind leaking everything. He was pushing the Cavs to trade him with all of his, like, subliminal Instagram videos and snaps of him, like, making comments and using Meek Mill lyrics and whatnot. And they finally traded, and he's going to get to leave looking like a good guy because he made it clear Kyrie wanted out, not him. So he gets to look like a good guy. The Cavs now have that number 1 pick. He gets to leave on a high note. If he takes them to the finals, even if they lose, he left them with a number 1 overall pick, a very good point guard who's coming off of a contract this year, so they have so much money to spend as well. Like, you can't help but say thank you and ride off in the sunset, even if he goes to the Lakers.
Well, no matter what he does, I mean, he brought Cleveland a championship. I mean, they haven't won a championship since, like, the 1700s or whatever. So, I mean, and none of their teams. And so the fact that he brought them a championship, Cleveland fans need to be forever grateful to him. They had a right to be upset, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
With the way he left. I mean, if you want to leave, just go. But having a whole...
Take my talents to South Beach.
Yeah, have a taped bullshit piece called The Decision.
For an hour, too.
Yeah. I mean, that was whack. But so I understand why Cleveland fans were mad. But he came back. He didn't have to do that.
No.
He brought you a championship. Doing so... I mean, in doing so, he came back. He brought the Cavs back from a 3-1 deficit against the incredible Warriors,
the toughest team too.
And so, I mean, the Cleveland fans need to be forever grateful to him. He is leaving them in a good position, but he hooked that city up, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's on the roller coaster right now, and it's at the top, and they're about to go to bottom once he leaves. But the bottom for them is no longer going to be the way down right by the ground. It's just going to be a little downward bump.
They're going to be an average team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they'll end up paying Isaiah the big money.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and, like you were giving it up to Isaiah earlier, this is a dude who was the 60th pick in the draft. Those guys don't always even make the team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he's now basically being traded straight up
for the number 1
overall pick in the same draft. Yeah, so that's, Isaiah Thomas deserves a lot of credit, and I do think the Cavs will give him that money.
Yeah, I hope so. He deserves it, man.
If he wants to stay there.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if there was anywhere that I hope he would end his career with, and this is just me being a biased fan again, I hope he comes back and gets to play with the Celtics one more time, even though I doubt it will happen now, especially how he's gone. Well, but the city of Boston loves him. Like, there's not a doubt the city of Boston loves Isaiah Thomas.
Well, they do, and they should. But there's no way he's going back there.
No.
As long as Irving is there.
Yeah, as long as Irving's there.
Unless Irving leaves.
Yeah, or if he, by the time that he gets to that point in his career, like he's Paul Pierce, where he's like coming off the bench and something like that. But, I see Wade coming for sure. And then now it makes the possibility of Carmelo a lot more realistic because he wanted to go to Houston. Houston can't get him because of the Ryan Anderson stuff. And now Cleveland can kind of play around with what they have. They have Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, all these guys they can offer.
They have a lot of pieces.
They have a lot of pieces for Carmelo they'd be willing to move, And I see them making a deal.
They could. I mean, LeBron's basically the GM, he's basically the head coach and the GM, so if he wants something to happen, they'll probably make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they know he's probably going to leave, the prospect of them potentially getting another championship before he leaves.
Yeah, I mean, go all in. Why not? Go. They went in, they got Isaiah Thomas, and of course they got that draft pick. So you basically got a same all-star level point guard, same level. You're not, like you said, they're not necessarily going to get better, but they might be a game or two worse just because they have to get used to the system. But go all in. You have the pieces now. Keep that pick. Make sure the only thing you really need is that pick. after this season. You can literally leverage everyone else off and put them on 1-year deals or get players that are on 1-year contracts now. And then just bank on that pick being the next big part of your future and get a ring while you can.
Yeah, I definitely see that line of thinking. I don't know if they won't do that. They might do that.
I mean, if they went with this trade, my only thinking is like, you know, if they're going to get a trade like this and they really pushed Irving out of there like they did, they're willing to take on.
Well, they didn't push Irving out. He wanted out.
He wanted out, but they pushed like. It was almost, we were all waiting for it to happen, but it seemed like the deal, everything with this deal went down, it seems like, in the span of 24 hours. And I'm sure it wasn't like that. I'm sure it was a lot longer, but all the news for them talking, the deal's getting heavier, and we finally get details, and then it happened within a span of like 24 hours, you know?
Well, I think by the time we heard about it, it was probably almost a done deal.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Unfortunately. I want to hear about this crap sooner and sooner. I mean, I wish I was like that guy, the fly on the wall in the rooms who gets to just like, what's going on here?
Well, I mean, you know, you may end up being the Brian Windhorst one day where you're the one breaking the news, you know?
I love watching Brian Windhorst, but the one thing I hate is when he goes on the jump and you can hear him breathing. I can physically hear Brian Windhorst breathing through the microphone, and it's so uncomfortable because you hear it and it's like...
Oh man, leave the guy, poor guy alone.
I love him, and I subscribe to him on almost every platform. But I'm like, man, I could just do without hearing you breathe.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
So the next big topic is what's going on this weekend. We got Floyd and Connor.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Oh well, I mean, let me just let everyone know that in Las Vegas, about 90% of the bets being placed are being placed on Conor McGregor because he's such a big underdog. And it's to the point where some experts are saying that if McGregor wins, Las Vegas will be in financial disaster. But then, with that being said, there's no freaking way McGregor wins this fight. There's no way. You're talking about a guy who has never lost a professional fight, ever. And you're talking about a guy who has never been in a professional boxing match.
Yeah.
And so he's a great fighter, a great athlete, but he's not even undefeated in his own sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, they can make the argument, well, all the times he's lost is because they're on the ground. He still lost.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather has found a way to win every time. And he's, as much as people may not want to admit it, he's one of the best boxers ever.
Yeah.
And so you're taking a guy like that, even though he claims he lost a step, he's not the same guy he was a few years ago. He's never lost a match. He knows what it's like. McGregor, in addition to never being in a boxing match, I don't know that he's in that kind of shape. I mean,
yeah,
to go 10 to 12 rounds, I forget what it is, that is exhausting. And they don't go that long in MMA.
No.
And so there's just so many things against McGregor. He's got balls. You got to give him that. I don't even think he has a puncher's chance because...
Man, really?
Yeah, because you look at Max Kellerman from ESPN, who's a boxing expert. He said he doesn't know if McGregor's going to even land one punch.
See,
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, that's my thing.
I wouldn't go that far, but what Max is trying to say is that you're talking about not only a guy who is a pro, but in Mayweather, but who people can never get their hands on him. Yeah, they can never get their hands. Even you're talking about some of the other greatest boxers in the world, and yeah, McGregor, that's one of his skills, and as he would say, I'm skilled in many. I'm skilled.
Yeah, like what does it even mean, man?
Many, what is many? Let's qualify many.
Like
many.
Two?
Yeah, right. So even though he says he's skilled in boxing, he's a tough guy and he's a good fighter, a great fighter. But in the boxing ring, I'm gonna try to watch the fight, but I don't think it's gonna be much of a challenge. I think Mayweather's gonna win, and I think it's gonna be close.
I think Mayweather wins. I think that I think Max Kellerman is a little off, like you said. Like he's not gonna get a punch on him. No, the guy's gonna. The thing about Conor is he's fighting a style that, like, the style he has is so unique. It's kind of a blend, It's like you took a bunch of things, put it in a blender, and that's what you get. And Floyd has never seen a blended style like that or fought a fighter like Conor. So I think that Conor will get a couple hits. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as people think, but I think Floyd's going to win it. I don't want Floyd to win personally because I don't like him as a person. I hate Floyd Mayweather, and don't get me wrong, I kind of dislike Conor McGregor, but in the scheme of things, I hate Floyd Mayweather. But, man, Conor, I feel like, I don't think it's going to be a knockout on either side. I think it's going to go a little bit longer than both of them think, but I think he has a better chance than people are, like, giving him. You know, people are saying that, like, he's not going to get a hit, it's not going to go that long, he's going to just get screwed up so quickly. Like, no, this guy is a fighter, and he's a professional fighter. It's just the style that he's fighting in now is not his forte or his field at all.
Right. I mean, you said that he has a blender. He has a blended combination of skills.
Yeah.
But most of the ingredients of that blend are not going to be able to be used.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
And so, you know, he's using one of his skill sets, which is probably pretty good, against a person whose skill set in that area is one of the best ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows how many hits he'll get in, and people say, well, Floyd's not used to that kind of style, but the dude can't do anything but box.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to be polished. You gotta have your punches on point. You gotta know how you're gonna approach him. But I'm interested in seeing it, and I understand not liking Floyd Mayweather. This may be the first time I'm ever rooting for him, because I don't usually like him much either.
Yeah. You know, we were talking about the Mayweather-McGregor fight and the comments that Conor made. So I definitely think that he should have rethought or took a little bit more time to think about what he was saying before he said it. But I think that some of it has been taken out of context just because, you know, it's a very big fight. There's a lot going into it. And the two people that are in it are very, very public figures that people like to pull apart and whatnot. So I think there's some of that with it. But I definitely think that he should have thought about what he was saying before he said it.
The media, when covering an event like this, we're always gonna hype everything up.
Yeah.
But when you're a white person and you're calling a black person a monkey, there is no context.
Well, do you think that he meant it like?
It doesn't matter how you meant it. You know, I mean, it matters. It matters, but that's one thing you cannot say. That comparison is something that racist people have made throughout the ages.
Yo, yeah, the monkey one, 100%. I agree with you. I mean more the boy.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, the boy. I mean, maybe he didn't mean like that. You know,
it's like son. You know,
he says he calls everybody boy, but even with that, if you're gonna be in this country with the history we have, you can't go there. You know, I don't want anybody, especially someone who's not black, calling me boy. You know, because of the stuff my ancestors went through, being called boy.
Yeah.
You know, and what that means. It means you're less than me. We're the same age, but you're calling me boy. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, if it's you and me and we're friends, and you're, hey, that's my boy Avi. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you're saying it in the way he said it, boy, come over here, or however he said it, that's not okay with me. And you know, I think maybe you have to be in the position of being a minority to really understand it.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, but whether he meant it like that or not, it's not acceptable. And I know he said, well, you know, I'm not a racist, not to mean like that, and you know, I believe him. But you can't go there, man. You just can't go there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he came out afterwards saying he's not a racist, and I do agree. I don't think he was trying to be racist. I think that in the moment he just said things that, one, he shouldn't have said, two, probably should have thought a lot more on what he was saying, and three, I do think some of it's taken out of context, more so the boy thing. I think he was saying that more of like, calm down, son, like you're sunning someone, you know, like that. I don't think he was trying to go at him like boy, like calling him less than him. I think he was just kind of like sunning him.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying, but my point is that...
No, I get it. I get you. Yeah, yeah.
How you mean it, you just...
It shouldn't be said, yeah. All right. And, all right, that leads me to this. You want Floyd or Conor to win this one?
I want Floyd to win the fight.
You want Floyd to win the fight?
And, you know, I think he dodged Pacquiao for a long time. When they finally fought, I was going for Pacquiao.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate that Pacquiao had that injury during the fight, but in this one, I'm going for Floyd, man, because I don't really care for Conor very much anymore.
Understandably.
And what about you?
In this fight, honestly.
Yeah, you haven't made your mind up yet, is what it seems.
No, like I have my
mind.
I have my mind up. It's just I really, really hate Floyd Mayweather. I really hate him, and at the same time, I love watching someone who's so goddamn cocky just back up their fight. Like, certain times you watch Floyd fight and he backs up what his talk is, but you're more like attuned to seeing Conor talk and then back it up in the fight, you know? So I would love to see, personally, I'd love to see Conor whoop Floyd's ass, but yeah, I'd rather see Conor win than Floyd. I'd rather see Conor win than Floyd, but at the end of the fight, whoever wins, I'm going to be okay with that outcome. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have as much of a stake in it to pick a side, but I just have a preference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see both of them get hit in the face by each other once during the fight. Just like one clean shot to the face for both and get side-by-side stills of that. That would be what I'd want to see.
Well, Conor's going to get hit in the face a lot.
Oh, man. I can't wait. Have you seen the footage of him sparring against Paulie... crap, I keep mispronouncing his name. Paulie Malignaggi.
Maggi or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maggi.
He screwed him up, man.
Well, yeah, but, I mean... Who's that guy? You know, I mean,
he was a champ.
Was. And, you know, for boxers, like we were talking about how quarterbacks and NFL players, they drop off quickly. It's the same for boxers, man.
But Floyd fought some of the guys that were older at that point. Like Pacquiao, he fought him, and we saw the footage of that, and it's like, you know, they're older, shouldn't be fighting because it's not necessarily the same. But, like, Paulie still has something, and Manny had something still at that point.
Well, yeah, well, Manny did, yeah, but you can't compare Pacquiao or Mayweather to
Fair. But I'm more impressed with, honestly, like, I can't pronounce it right, sorry, Paulie, whatever your last name is, but if you watch the footage, like, he really screws him up. Like, Conor gets him with multiple hits.
Well, and if you look at what Paulie said afterward, he said that they kind of doctored it to make it look worse than it was.
Yeah, but then they released, Dana White then put out some of the, not all of it, granted, but some of the footage, and you can clearly see the stuff that he was talking about on Twitter got refuted by that segment of video being released, and you could see, like, the points that he was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, again, sparring is a completely different thing than being under the lights with an undefeated champ. I mean, you're under the lights, and it's not sparring. You know, you can't. There's no second tries. You know, and you got these rounds. You can't stop, and I just think it's gonna be fun to watch because I don't think McGregor even really realizes what he's getting himself into.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, we have one final topic to cover. Our quick take is going to be on Kaepernick. So we've seen what's been going on all offseason with how the league has basically kind of held him out or, like, blocked him basically from getting a job. And, you know, at first with the whole Kaepernick situation, I was taking more of a business approach in my mind, you know, where it was like, I want him in the league, but I don't think that people should say he should. I don't think that what the fans say should really matter because at the end of the day, if your bottom dollar is being affected, period, you got to do a business decision, you know? That's how my thought process was. Like, the Giants GM coming out and saying, like, the fans didn't want him to sign him because they just didn't want it to happen and he wasn't going to sign him because of that. I don't think it's right. And before I was saying in my mind, you know, business-wise, I get it. Now I'm at the standpoint, though, where it's important that he's in the league. He deserves to be in the league. He plays better than almost half of the backup QBs that are signed already. His turnover to interception ratio, touchdown to interception ratio last year was 16-4. So basically 4-1. Yeah, 4-1. And this guy is doing something that other athletes have done before in the past, and now we're criticizing them. Now we're criticizing Kaepernick for trying to bring more awareness for what's going on when athletes like Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, they fought for civil rights and for the ability for people of color and minorities to play in these sports. And here we are seeing again basically we're seeing the same type of message getting sent, just more publicly across the entire like span of sports. And I think it's very important that he gets a job because the guy, one, deserves it from a player standpoint, just because as a player, he's a very good player, and he can still offer stuff to an NFL roster. And compared to the playing field of like other QBs available, I think the Ravens signed an Arena League quarterback, and no offense to him, but you are not an NFL player and should not be in the same breath as Colin Kaepernick. And, you know, I want to know, do you think that Kaepernick's going to have a job at some point this season?
Well, let me just piggyback on what you said about him being better than half the backup quarterbacks. He's better than half the starters.
Yeah.
He's better than every backup quarterback on every team. He's better than half the quarterbacks starting. The NFL is a quarterback-driven league, but it's also a league that doesn't have a lot of good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to play quarterback in the NFL. You have maybe 10 or 15 good quarterbacks, really good quarterbacks in the NFL. And when you're talking about 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions on a San Francisco 49ers team that was the suckiest bunch of sucks who ever sucked.
Yeah.
No help at receiver, no help at offensive line. At least one of those interceptions I saw, it went through someone's hand, went through one of his receiver's hands.
Yeah, I remember.
So it's absolutely political that he's not signed right now.
Yeah.
It's a travesty because you have a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, who I'm a Cowboy fan. You know, the law enforcement decided not to have their own investigation, but through the NFL's own investigation, they found that they feel like he's guilty of domestic violence. If that's true, but the Cowboys are still like, we stand 100% behind Ezekiel Elliott. Richie Incognito said just about every racial slur you can imagine.
And yet he's still in the league.
Greg Hardy, I mean, multiple offenses. What Kaepernick did was non-violent.
Yeah.
It was peaceful. He was protesting something that he believed strongly in and that needed to be protested against because police brutality is a thing.
It is.
It's a thing that cannot be denied. Whatever side of the argument you're on, there's videotape evidence of it happening. And all he's doing, and he made it clear that he wasn't protesting against the military.
See, that pisses me off too. When people take it to the extreme of saying it's a diss to the American flag and the military. Yeah. No, it's not. He's doing what any one of the patriots who helped found and fight for our rights in this country would have done.
Yeah.
Taking a stand.
Right. I mean, and then you have things like that happened in Charlottesville with Nazis protesting in the streets, and some people are more outraged that Colin Kaepernick took a freaking knee during the national anthem of a football game. You're more upset about this man taking a peaceful protest, taking a knee and making a peaceful protest than Nazis marching in the street, literal Nazis. And so, I mean, like, where is your heart at? All he's trying to do is bring equality to all people.
Yeah.
And now he's not going to be able to get a job because of that. But I think what's going to end up happening, to answer your question, I do think he will get a job eventually. I don't know if it's going to be this season. I think it's very likely that it will be this season, but I think it will happen eventually. And even more importantly, though, I mean, with him going forward, if you look at what Muhammad Ali did protesting the Vietnam War, I mean, he was a pariah at that time too for most people, and he had a portion of America that thought of him as a hero. Same as Kaepernick. Obviously, Kaepernick is not the level of athlete that Ali was, but as time passes, people are going to look back on what he did and the sacrifice that he made, however long it ends up being.
They'll say he's right.
And they'll say he's right, and he'll be loved for it by people for generations. Far more than he would have been without doing this, and far more than his abilities on the field would have allowed him to be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he really took a stand and he really risked everything, and a lot of guys aren't willing to do that. I mean, Des Bryant, another Cowboy. He won't take a stand on this issue, but he's like boycotting Blaze Pizza because they don't like the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you serious? And he says, I have family to feed. Bro,
that's like an entirely different story. That's like
that's not a good excuse. And so I think I hate what's going on with Kaepernick also. I do think that eventually he'll get a job, he'll get signed, and I think he'll play really well if he gets a chance to. But I do think that it's completely unfair what's going on, and it is political and perhaps racial, the reasons why he's not being signed right now.
I mean, I think those two go hand in hand for the point. Like, it's true. Like, it's shitty that people don't realize what the true message. It goes a lot deeper than just like him not having a job. Like, people don't understand the message of what he's trying to do.
Right.
And then on top of that, it gets overblown and turned into this like, no, you're not a patriot, or you're against what you stand for, or what we stand for, and it turns into a bigger divide. And like, it's not about that. It's about, you know, there is a clear and distinct discrepancy with how people of color and minorities are treated by law enforcement and people at large, you know, people at large in general, as opposed to the general population being, you know, white. And that's how it is. And it sucks because if people are still going to remain ignorant to this message, we're not going to get further. And you would think with the events going on in Charlottesville, what happened to Orlando a year ago, people would start realizing, oh, that's what Cap's actually talking about. That's what he's trying to do and make a point of. And it sucks because he's gone from being a guy in the Super Bowl who was almost about to win a Super Bowl, maybe be a Super Bowl MVP, to a guy who's now looking for a job, and people have very firm opinions on him. They either hate him or they love him. And I don't know. I think that he'll have a job by the midpoint of the season. You know, God forbid anyone gets injured, but I think that injuries do happen, and hopefully he'll get a call immediately because he's the best available QB on the market.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the best available for a long time.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, man, I mean, but the thing is, like you said, well, maybe they'll realize, well, that's what he was talking about, but he was very clear about what he was talking about, and people chose to make it about something else. They chose to have their own interpretation of it.
It takes time, though, to think it through, though. You know what I mean? For me, personally, that's where I was. I was thinking about it one way, not the whole, like, he was taking a stand against the military. But, I mean, looking at it from a business perspective. And that's how I looked at it before. But now I'm looking at it as, this is his message. That's what he meant. And hopefully other people will soon follow suit. I mean, you can't hate on a guy for taking a stand for what he believes in. You really can't.
Yeah, I mean, especially if he does it in a non-violent way, and if what he believes in isn't like supremacy, but it's equality.
Yeah.
It's not like he believes in some far-out ideology that is offensive to other people, but people are offended when, a lot of times when black people try to take a stand for equality, people get so offended. Like, why are you offended? We're not trying to say we're better than you. We're trying to get equal treatment.
Yeah, exactly. People think immediately when that's said, it's like, oh, you're putting yourself ahead of us. But that's not true. Everyone just wants to be on the same playing field.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I hope he gets a job. I really do. And I think that if teams are smart, they'll give him a job because he can help any team right now.
I agree. I think he would probably fit best with either, like, a New York team, which definitely can use a quarterback, or, in all honesty, I think Denver would be perfect.
Denver would be perfect. I mean, they had their quarterback competition going on. They just named Simeon the starter over Paxton Lynch, but neither of those guys is exceptional. No. Those guys are both pretty average.
Yeah.
I think Kaepernick would be an upgrade over both of those guys. So that's what I was
100%.
saying. That's what I was saying about him being not only better than the backups, but being better than many of the starters. Absolutely, he's better than any quarterback on the Jets. I mean, he's not going to displace Eli Manning because he's a two-time Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
But he may be better than Eli Manning right now, probably
Buffalo.
I mean, I like Tyrod Taylor, but Kaepernick probably would be an upgrade over him as well. But, yeah, so, I mean, it's exactly my point. You can go put him on a lot of the teams right now that have starters. I mean, freaking the Texans, you know, I think Deshaun Watson's going to be great, but right now they have, I think, Savage being their starter.
Yeah, and
Kaepernick's definitely an upgrade over him.
100%.
So, I mean, you can go to almost, you know, to half the teams in the league and say Kaepernick is a clear upgrade over their starter. And yet he doesn't even have a job as a backup. It is just, it's outrageous.
I don't know. I think he'll get a job, and hopefully he does, but I think people need to spend more time not worrying about him getting a job, and people should start focusing more on what his message was and what he's doing. Because look what he's doing in the offseason. Like, he's helping convicted felons who now are going through that rehabilitation and coming back into society process. He's getting them suits, getting them ready for job interviews and stuff like that. And he donated like $1 million or something. I remember reading about it. I forget to what, but
yeah, he did donate $1 million. I think it was to some inner city program, but it was basically to further his message. And so he's not only talking it, he's walking it.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand how you could not be on board with that.
Yeah, and if anything, that should speak volume to who he is, and teams would want to sign him more because his ethic is more proven just by like him sticking with trying to enforce what he stood for, what he is standing for.
Yeah, but I mean, if you
kneeling
look
for.
at what's already going on with him, he's already gonna be in the Smithsonian African American Museum.
Yeah,
and so he's already gonna have his own exhibit in there. I mean, this dude is still like I think 29 or something.
Yeah, and
so as time goes on, it's only gonna get better for him. I think more and more of society will realize what he did and will appreciate what he did.
He'll become a public figure.
Absolutely. I mean, even more so than he already is. I mean, for us black people, we're already like, man, you risked you risked your career to bring attention to this. That means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that legend is only going to grow as time passes.
Do you think that I remember seeing? I think it was one of the Bennett brothers, the one on Seattle. Not Michael Bennett. Yeah. Michael was talking about how he wanted a white player to take a stand with him. Do you think that having a white player take a stand in the similar stance would go that extra mile in making a big difference?
Well, that actually did happen.
Yeah.
The guy from the Browns, I forget his name, one of the tight ends, I think. A bunch of those guys took a knee and they did like a prayer circle. They were all taking a knee and praying during the anthem, and one of the guys was white. And if you listen to what he said after, he said, I'm going to raise kids that don't look like me, which leads me to believe he's in an interracial relationship. I don't know his wife or fiance or whatever, but clearly that's what he's saying. I'm going to raise kids that don't look like me. So it's important that they grow up in a better place than that our kids are growing up in now. And so I think Michael Bennett is right. And I think Max Kellerman said the same thing, that it's going to take a white guy or several of you to stand with us and say, this is what, and you have to be very clear about what you're protesting. This is what we're doing. We're taking this knee because of racial inequality. And it's very clear that it's happening, and we don't believe in it. We think it needs to change. And so, I mean, if you look at what Jackie Robinson went through when he was breaking the Major League Baseball color line, he was on the Dodgers, and one of the most popular players on the Dodgers at the time was Pee Wee Reese. Mm-hmm. Pee Wee Reese put his arm around him. He's getting these racial slurs yelled at him. Pee Wee Reese goes and puts his arm around him, and so that was one of the most iconic moments. And in addition to how that probably made Jackie Robinson feel, a lot of the fans were like, that has to throw their racism back a little bit. Like, well, that's our guy. He's putting his arm around him. So I think that Michael Bennett was right, and you are seeing some white guys starting to wake up now and be like his teammate put his hand on his shoulder when he was, so yeah, I mean, I think more and more of them do need to do it, and I think it starts to, if we can get like a whole team to do it, like especially for,
that's when it will be the next big level.
For an owner like the Cowboys have, like Jerry Jones, he said any cowboy who does that will be an ex-cowboy. Well, not if all of them do it.
Yeah.
If Des Bryant and Ezekiel Elliott and Tyron Smith and Dak Prescott and
Jason Witten.
And Jason Witten, some of your white guys too, and Travis Frederick, some of your Pro Bowl players do all do that together, you won't do shit about it.
Yeah.
You will be like, okay, well, you're not gonna fire all those guys.
No, you can't.
No freaking way. And even if you did, I mean, because you know that if you did, your team would go completely to shit right away.
Yeah.
And so if it's going to take unity is what it's going to take. It can't just be one guy here, one guy there. It has to be unity, and then them speaking up about what it's for, and then you may really bring a change to the discussion, bring a lot of people over to the other side.
See, I think this is going to cross over into other stuff. I'd like to thank my good friend Avi Bernard for coming on the show today. Avi, thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure,
appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure seeing you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Come back next week and catch up for some more stuff going on. I got to edit that in.